So yesterday I had filmed a video about a prisoner in California who had a conjugal visit, a prisoner who was serving a life sentence for 4 bodies and who during that conjugal visit would end up strangling his wife and killing her. Absolutely horrific. A lot of questions were posed that I didn't have answers for, like how could this have happened? Folks, this morning I just ran across another story about this and something even crazier, as if this couldn't get any more crazy. This latest story that I've ran across talks about the fact that another woman was actually strangled during another conjugal visit. I'm not sure if it was by the same prisoner. I don't think that it was, but let me share this headline right now that reads, "Second woman is strangled during an overnight visit at California prison." Let me share this story with you guys because it is going to paint more details to what happened to the woman that we talked about in the first video. And hopefully we're going to learn about the other woman who was strangled during a conjugal visit as well. The family of a woman who died of strangulation during an overnight visit with her husband at a California prison is questioning why a man convicted of murdering 4 people was allowed to have family visits. Stephanie Diane Dowles, 62 years old, as seen in this picture right here, folks, who also went by the name Stephanie Brinson. Now remember, Brinson was the last name of the prisoner that she was married to, who took her life, was killed in November, making her the second person in a year to die at Mule Creek State Prison during a family visit. Wait a minute. Stephanie Dowles was the second person to lose their life during one of these overnight conjugal visits at the same exact prison in less than a year? And you mean to tell me y'all still got conjugal visits? I don't want to sound like a hater or I'm trying to take anything away from prisoners, but let me be honest with you. Throughout the entire United States, there are not very many places in this country that still allow for conjugal visits. Certainly not in the state of Virginia. You ain't getting no conjugal visits. I believe that I've heard maybe in New York there were conjugal visits. Maybe there used to be. Hell, there probably were conjugal visits everywhere at one point in time. For whatever the reason, there no longer is. Maybe because of the fact that through conjugal visits, a lot of things can take place. Contraband and drugs could get muled or smuggled. Maybe pregnancies, hey, look, we're not trying to be breeding a whole bunch of prisoner babies here. I don't necessarily know why conjugal visits are no longer a thing. Certainly a question to be posed for an upcoming video, possibly. But to think that in California, which is already so wild of a place, to put it mildly, in my personal opinion, where they still have conjugal visits, to think that 2 people lost their lives during such visits at the same exact facility, and the fact that they still have conjugal visits there certainly leaves a lot open for interpretation. I guess the other way to word that is I really don't know what to make of it. When is enough going to be enough and you're going to take those damn things away? Or are you just going to let people just continue to lose their lives during these conjugal visits and say, hey, look, that was the anomaly. That guy in that situation, that's the anomaly. Most prisoners, they've changed, they're rehabilitated. And in most cases, that's probably correct. However, all it takes is one bad apple to spoil the bunch, so the saying goes. The other victim, here we go. This is what I had no idea about. Tiana Thomas, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing her name, or Tania Thomas, 47 years old, was also strangled during a family visit. Amador County District Attorney Todd something said in an interview on Monday. The man she was visiting has been charged with murder in connection to her killing. Definitely about to look up that story in this video, but let me continue to breeze through this particular story because of the fact that this one does share more details about Stephanie Dowles, the woman that we've already been sharing about. Dowles, a hairdresser, was killed while visiting her husband, David Brinson, 54 years old, who was convicted in the 1990s of murdering 4 men during a robbery and sentenced to 4 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. This guy ain't got shit to lose. What's another body? What's another stripe on on his arm, another notch on the belt, so to speak. After Brinson called police officials at 2:04 a.m., this is new information to us, on November the 13th, to tell them his wife had passed out, officers immediately began life-saving measures and called 911. Could you imagine what those officers were thinking walking up into that cell, seeing the lifeless body of this woman, thinking to themselves, oh shit, maybe we should have checked on this dude a little more often, or God bless it, who let this dude have this visit? This is crazy. Dow's was pronounced dead a short time later. Dow's killing remains under investigation by prison officials and the district attorney's office. The spokesperson said charges are pending prison and autopsy reports. Well, the autopsy has already came back. And why are we still waiting to charge this dude? 1 and 1 certainly equals 2 in this case. Hey, look, if we charge him right now, it's all circumstantial. Just because he's serving 4 consecutive life sentences for 4 different murder charges from 1993, and just because he was the only one who was in the room with Mrs. Dow's when she lost her life, it's still circumstantial. We don't have the concrete evidence that we need to charge this dude for a home run conviction. Are you kidding me? If that's the line of thinking. Or maybe it's as simple as innocent until proven guilty. The Amador County Sheriff's Office confirmed she had been strangled and her death was a homicide. Dow's son, Armand Torres, 28, and his wife said that in the days after Dow's death, Brinson's account of events kept changing, including the exact time and location where he found Dow's unconscious. What do you mean, where he found her? What exactly is a conjugal visit room? I mean, is it like a little apartment? Do you got like a living room and a bedroom and a kitchenette? Like, is it an ensuite? He would say, she passed out on the floor or she was passed out on the bed. Dow's lived in Inglewood, California with Torres and his wife and their 3-year-old son, who called Brinson Grandpa. Oh my God. Torres, his wife, and their son, and Dow's were all very close, and the couple allowed the boy to accompany Dow's on family visits to Mule Creek Prison twice in the last couple of years. If I could trust him with my kid, I'm thinking it's a green light. No, unfortunately, the green light was on your mom. I don't say that to make jokes or light. It's the truth. For whatever reason, Buddy, that switch in Buddy's head switched to green, and it was go time. And your mother was the only thing that was standing right in front of this guy. This guy had an itch, a knack, a long lost, maybe even a craving to kill. I'm gonna say this again. I truly feel like this dude deserves the death penalty. And then if that was to happen, they should study this guy's brain. I mean, you're looking at like you're looking at a serial killer right here, or at least what we're sharing about certainly sounds like one. He said his mother told him his son had enjoyed the visits, which was enough assurance for him to trust Brinson around his son. Torres, again, that's the son of this woman who lost her life, said he's sometimes worried about his mom being with someone who was incarcerated, but he tried to be supportive. He said he was unaware that Brinson had been convicted of murdering 4 people, and had he known that, quite certainly that would have changed his line of thinking. Would he have allowed his 3-year-old son to go visit a quadruple murderer? We really love our mom, and we just wanted her to be happy, and she usually came back happy, he said. They talked on the phone every day. Everything seemed good. I'm all for second chances. If she was happy, I was happy, he said. Torres would sometimes overhear his mother and Brinson arguing on the phone, he said, but he didn't think much of it because couples sometimes quarrel, especially when one partner is incarcerated. Yeah. That's over the phone, though. Imagine that argument in person, when that person that you're arguing with in close proximity and locked in a cell together is a guy that's got 4 bodies under his belt. No stranger to taking life. Stephanie was always a forgiving person. She always tried to see the better in people. Despite their background or anything, she was always trying to see the good in them. That's what she did with her husband. And unfortunately, that would cost her her life. Torres said his mother and Brinson met before he was born in 1996, and he didn't meet Brinson until about 2016. This is definitely new information right here. In the first video that I shared about this, I said that they were probably prison pen pals. The murders that this guy committed took place back in 1993. This woman who lost her life met this guy in 1996, so he was just starting his bid, and could in fact mean that they were prison pen pals. But damn, that was a hell of a relationship to maintain. Oh, good. This story does in fact share about the other woman or other person that lost their life. Thomas, the other victim, was found unconscious on July 1, 2024. So July of last year is when the first woman lost her life and was strangled during a conjugal visit. And in November, you know what? July, August, September, October, November. Just 4 months later, you got another woman getting strangled during a conjugal visit. I got a feeling they've probably shut this shit down by this point. And if conjugal visits are still taking place, that shit is wild to me. Thomas, the other victim, was found unconscious on July 1, 2024 in a family visiting unit where she was spending time with her domestic partner. I don't know what that is, a boyfriend, a prison pen pal, a husband, Anthony Curry. Curry, 48, is serving a life sentence for attempted second-degree murder with an enhancement of intentionally discharging a firearm causing great bodily injury. So he shot somebody trying to kill them, but they survived. He was also sentenced to 13 years in prison for carjacking with an enhancement of using a firearm. The Department of Corrections said Curry has been charged with murder in connection to Thomas's death, but has not been arraigned. I mean, why? Why bother? Dude's already serving life. I understand that we do need to carry out justice for this woman who lost her life, and it's just crazy to think he's probably just going to get another life sentence. But dude certainly sounds like a peach, don't he? You got an attempted murder with an enhancement of using a firearm to cause great bodily injury. And you also got a carjacking charge with basically the same thing. So, yeah, man, hey, people can change. Everyone deserves a second chance. But do they, though? I think the story that I shared initially about the woman losing her life and this follow-up certainly sparks the debate of whether or not that's true. At least in my opinion. More interesting information right here. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation website says some incarcerated people are eligible for family visits, which occur in private apartment-like facilities on prison grounds and last from 30 to 40 hours. 30 to 40 hours. Think about this. If you work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, that is 40 hours. Man, apartment-like facilities on the prison grounds. Why do I not want a life sentence in the state of California? Because this shit is preposterous. People who are eligible, Jesus Christ, you got two of the worst eligible for this. So it basically sounds like anybody is eligible for this. Correct me if I'm wrong here. The visits are intended to support positive family connections and successful rehabilitation. Well, in these two cases, they certainly did not do none of that. Oh, this is interesting right here. It says death row inmates and people convicted of sex offenses are excluded, as is anyone under disciplinary restrictions. So maybe they do have the death penalty in California. Maybe I was wrong about that. Or maybe they don't, and they've just included this. Maybe like the state of Virginia, the death penalty is on for a few years, and then they abolish it, and then it comes back. I don't know. Maybe California is similar to that. The family visits are a privilege, and incarcerated persons must apply and meet strict eligibility criteria to be approved. Only those who demonstrate sustained good behavior and meet specific program requirements are considered. So Buddy was, a grade A student for 20 or 30 years, and you gave him this conjugal visit, and he did what he was always going to do. Kill. That's all he knows how to do. Maybe in both of these cases, even though the other guy didn't have 4 bodies. Riddle me this. Hypothetically, let's say Whatever comes of this case comes of it. Dude gets another life sentence. He goes to the hole for 5 years, 10 years, something like that, which you can't even do anymore. But let's just say 20 years down the road, is Buddy eligible again for these conjugal visits? Does he get another chance at this? Because it certainly sounds like California will give you another chance to show them that they should have never gave you that chance. Just my opinion. Folks, that's everything. And I'm glad that this story also shared about the other woman that lost her life. Very tragic situations. My heart and condolences go out to the families of these two victims. And these situations should have never happened. Neither one of these guys should have been eligible for this type of a visit. I served 7 years in prison for nonviolent drug offenses. Where were my conjugal visits at? And I only share that, not really being so serious, but to say, why are we giving these type of liberties to people with this heinous of shit that they're serving time for? Y'all let me know what you think. Hey, look, that's it. Some kind of a way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment on this, letting me know exactly what you thought about this. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!